I still remember the smell of lilies that morning. They were my favorite flowers, and I dreamed about walking down that aisle since I was 16. The church was glowing with sunlight, every bench filled with people I loved. Family, friends, even distant cousins who hadn't seen me in years. Everyone was waiting for me to become Mrs. Emma Reynolds Carter. And then there was silence. The kind of silence that hums in your bones. The kind that tells you something terrible is about to happen. I waited in the small bridal room, my hands trembling as I adjusted my veil. The makeup artist had just left, whispering, "You look perfect." But deep down my heart was racing, not from excitement but from something else. A kind of nervous energy I couldn't name. I checked the clock again. 11:05. The ceremony was supposed to start at 11 sharp. Daniel was never late. Never. He was the kind of man who arrived 5 minutes early just to double-check everything. We'd been together for 5 years. I thought I knew him like I knew myself. And then my phone buzzed. It was a text from my maid of honor. My little sister, Lily. Lily. "Emma, please don't panic. Daniel's gone. He left." First I thought it was a joke. A sick last-minute prank to make me freak out before walking down the aisle. But then another message appeared. "Lily. He said he can't do it. He left the church." The world tilted. My knees went weak. And I remember gripping the edge of the vanity table to stop myself from falling. The mirror in front of me blurred. Not from fog, but from the tears that suddenly poured from my eyes. He left me. On our wedding day. The bridesmaids rushed in when they heard me scream. I don't even remember what I said. Only that my voice didn't sound like mine. I tore off the veil, ripped the pins from my hair, and threw the bouquet against the wall. It shattered into white petals that looked like snow falling to the ground. Hours later, after the guests left in awkward silence and the photographer quietly packed up his gear, I sat alone in that empty church, surrounded by candles that were burning out one by one. My mother tried to comfort me, but all I could hear was the echo of his voice from the night before. "I can't wait to marry you, Em. You're my forever." Forever lasted less than 12 hours. For 2 weeks, I didn't leave my apartment. I didn't eat much, didn't sleep at all. I replayed every memory, every laugh, every promise, trying to find the moment when it all started to rot. My phone buzzed non-stop with sympathy messages. Friends, co-workers, even Daniel's cousin apologizing on his behalf. Then came the message that shattered what little was left of me. "Lily. Emma, please don't hate me. I didn't mean for this to happen. He loves me now." First I didn't understand. Then I read it again. And again. My little sister. The one who used to braid my hair before school. The one who cried when I moved out for college. She was the reason he left me at the altar. I didn't reply. Couldn't. My fingers were frozen, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might faint. I threw my phone across the room and watched it crack against the wall. That night I went to the beach. The same beach where Daniel had proposed to me 2 years earlier. The waves were calm, the sky a dark velvet. I sat there for hours, trying to understand how love could turn into betrayal so quietly, so cruelly. And as I watched the tide swallow my footprints, something inside me shifted. The pain was still there, but it was changing shape. It was becoming sharper, clearer. That was the night I decided that I wouldn't be anyone's victim. 3 months later, they announced their engagement. Daniel and Lily. The same man who had promised me eternity was now holding my sister's hand in engagement photos that flooded social media. Smiling, laughing, wearing my ring. The one I had chosen. People whispered. Some called it scandalous. Others said, true love finds a way. But I stayed quiet. Because silence, I realized, is the most terrifying sound of all. I went back to work. I smiled when people asked if I was okay. I pretended to move on. Inside, though, I was building something. Plan. Not for violence or chaos, but for truth, cold, undeniable truth. The wedding was small, held in the countryside at a vineyard. I wasn't invited, of course, but I knew every detail. Lily couldn't help but share her dream wedding on Instagram. The same captions I'd written for my own wedding drafts. Every post burned like salt in an open wound, but also gave me everything I needed. I learned the date, the location, the guest list. And when I saw the honeymoon announcement, 2 weeks in Greece, I smiled for the first time in months, because by then I had everything ready. I started recording. Not fake things, real things. Messages, bills, screenshots, all the proof that showed how their affair began long before my wedding day. The late-night texts, the secret lunches, the "I'll explain after the wedding" messages Daniel had accidentally sent to me instead of her. I even had voice recordings from mutual friends who'd seen them together and didn't have the heart to tell me then. I compiled it all into a single video file, edited neatly, dated, and narrated by me. The title: To My Sister and the Man Who Left Me at the Altar. When they left for Greece, the internet was calm. But within 48 hours, everything changed. Because I uploaded that video publicly. Not to humiliate them, that's what everyone said later, but to tell my side of the story. It wasn't angry. It wasn't bitter. It was raw, real, and honest. In the video I told the truth. Every moment, every lie, every piece of the heart they broke. I didn't insult anyone. I didn't cry. I just told it the way it happened. Within a day, it hit 1 million views. People shared it everywhere. On Facebook, on TikTok, on news blogs with titles like "Bride Exposes Cheating Fiancé and Sister in Viral Confession." And do you know what the best part was? They didn't even know. They were in Greece, smiling for pictures, sipping cocktails, while the whole world watched the story unfold. When I woke up the next morning, my phone was exploding. At first I thought it was a mistake, maybe a group chat gone wild, but then I saw the notification count. 1,247 new messages, hundreds of missed calls, and one short text from my best friend Mia. "Emma, your story is everywhere." I blinked at the screen, half afraid to open anything. Then curiosity won. The first thing I saw was my own face, frozen in a thumbnail, the words, "The bride who spoke the truth," splashed beneath it. The world had found me. Comment after comment rolled past. "You're so brave." This broke my heart. How could your own sister do that? For the first time since that horrible wedding day, I didn't feel invisible. People finally knew what had really happened. They understood. Still, a part of me felt sick. I hadn't meant for it to become viral drama. I just wanted to breathe again, to let the truth exist somewhere other than my chest. But now it had escaped, and I couldn't pull it back. By noon, the video had over 4 million views. News pages picked it up, podcasts mentioned it. Strangers sent me messages telling me about their own betrayals. Some were angry for me. Some just wanted gossip. Either way, the story was alive. I knew it wouldn't be long before Daniel and Lily saw it. That evening, my phone rang with an unfamiliar international number. I almost ignored it, but something told me to answer. "Emma." "Daniel." His voice sounded tired, panicked even. Behind him, I could hear waves and muffled shouting. "What did you do?" he snapped. "I told the truth," I said calmly. "Something you never managed. You've ruined our lives. Lily's crying, the hotel's been calling. People are recognizing us." "Oh," I said softly. "So now you know how humiliation feels." He tried to argue, to twist it into a misunderstanding. He said he never meant to hurt me, that feelings changed, that Lily was just there when things were hard. Every word was another excuse dressed as regret. When he finally stopped talking, I asked the only question that mattered. "Did you ever love me, Daniel?" There was a long silence, then a sigh. "Not the way you loved me." That was all I needed to hear. I hung up without another word. 2 days later, I received a message from Lily. It was short. "Please, Emma, take the video down. Can't go outside. I can't sleep." For a moment, guilt flickered through me. She was still my sister after all. The girl who used to steal my sweaters and sneak into my bed during thunderstorms. But then I remembered the text she sent me months ago. The one where she'd said, "He loves me now." I typed slowly, deliberately. "You made your choices. Now live with them. Then I put my phone face down and walked away. In the days that followed, the internet did what the internet always does. It moved on. New scandals replaced my story. New heartbreaks took center stage. But the people closest to us didn't forget. Daniel lost clients from his real estate firm. Nobody wanted to trust the man from that viral video. Lily quit her job. Apparently, her co-workers had printed out memes with her face. Mom called me crying one night, begging me to talk to my sister, but I couldn't. Not yet. I wasn't ready to forgive someone who hadn't even tried to understand what she'd destroyed. Instead, I focused on myself. I went back to therapy. I started running every morning, rain or shine. I joined a small writing class at the library, and to my surprise, I found my voice again. The teacher loved my story drafts and encouraged me to publish something. First I laughed at the idea. Then I realized she was serious. People already connect with your truth, she said. Why not turn pain into purpose? So I did. I wrote late into the night, pouring every ounce of grief, confusion, and quiet revenge onto the page. The book wasn't about hatred. It was about healing, the messy kind that doesn't happen all at once, but slowly, one brave sentence at a time. 3 months later, I self-published my first short memoir, The Bride Who Spoke the Truth. It didn't explode overnight, but it found people, the kind of readers who needed to know they weren't alone. Emails came in from women in India, Canada, Brazil, each thanking me for helping them leave toxic relationships, or for reminding them that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. The irony, even Daniel bought a copy. He sent me a message afterward. I'm proud of you. I never replied. Then one afternoon, nearly a year after everything, a small envelope arrived at my door. No return address, just my name written in shaky handwriting. Inside was a postcard from Greece. A photo of the same beach where Daniel and Lily had spent their honeymoon. On the back, Lily had written, I'm sorry, we're not together anymore. I finally understand what I did to you. I hope someday you can forgive me. L. I stared at it for a long time. The tide had turned, just like that night at the beach when I'd made my decision. And for the first time I didn't feel angry. I just felt done. People always think revenge is about destroying someone else. But for me it was never about that. It was about reclaiming the part of myself they tried to break. The part that still believed in love, even after betrayal. I learned that truth has its own quiet way of finding balance. Sometimes you don't have to shout for justice. Sometimes you just have to tell your story and let the world listen. A year after the postcard, my life looked nothing like the ruins I'd once lived in. I had moved to a smaller apartment near the river. Mornings smelled of coffee and wet pavement instead of wedding day flowers. I taught creative writing classes twice a week and freelanced from home. Some of my students didn't even realize I was the woman from that viral video until halfway through the term. When they did, they treated me not as gossip, but as proof that healing could be ordinary. Every now and then, someone would recognize me in a cafe and whisper, Are you the bride who told the truth? I'd smile and say, I'm just Emma. And that answer always felt right. One rainy Tuesday, I stopped by a used bookstore to drop off a box of extra copies of my memoir. The owner, an older man named Patrick, had been selling them since the first print run. He waved me over with his usual grin. Emma, there's someone here who wants to meet you, he said. A man stood by the counter, flipping through one of my books. Dark-haired, with glasses slipping down his nose and a nervous half-smile. When he looked up, his eyes were the color of storm clouds, sad but kind. You're the writer, he said. I'm Adam. Your story helped my sister leave an awful marriage. I just wanted to say thank you. I didn't know what to say. Compliments still felt like borrowed clothes. Nice but not quite mine. So I just nodded. I'm glad it helped her. We ended up talking for almost an hour. About books, coffee, the way the city smelled after rain. He asked if I'd join him for lunch, and for once, I didn't check for escape routes in my head. Said yes. Lunch turned into weekly walks by the river. Weekly walks turned into weekends cooking at my place, trading stories about the worst meals we'd ever burned. He never asked for details about the video. He just let me exist. For the first time in years, love felt quiet. Not fireworks but candlelight. Teddy. One evening, while we watched the sunset from my balcony, he said softly, "You know, you don't talk about them anymore." I realized he was right. Daniel and Lily were ghosts I'd finally learned to live without. But the past has a way of testing how healed you truly are. It happened at a charity event where I'd been invited to speak about resilience and truth in storytelling. I stepped off the stage to polite applause and froze. At the back of the hall, Daniel stood with his hands in his pockets. He looked smaller somehow, thinner, quieter. When our eyes met, he managed a hesitant smile. After the event, he approached me. "Emma," he said, voice barely above a whisper, "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything." There was no speech, no tears. Just those 4 words, carrying a year's worth of silence. I could have said many things. But all that came out was, "I know. I forgave you long before you asked." He nodded, and for a moment we were 2 people who had simply survived each other. Then I walked away. That night I sat by the river again. The air was cold and clean, the water dark except where it caught the city lights. I thought about how far I'd come, from the girl trembling in a wedding dress to the woman who could breathe without bitterness. I took out my notebook and wrote, "Revenge never healed me. Truth did." The line felt final, like the closing of a book. Months later, Adam proposed. Nothing grand, just a quiet question on that same balcony where we'd first watched the sunset. He didn't promise forever. He promised honesty. And somehow that felt even more sacred. Said yes. People sometimes ask if I regret posting that video. Tell them no. Not because it hurt the people who hurt me, but because it saved the woman I almost lost. The version of me who still believed her voice mattered. I don't wake up angry anymore. I wake up grateful. Grateful for the scars that taught me gentleness. And for the truth that became my greatest revenge. So if anyone ever tells you that your pain doesn't matter, tell them this. Sometimes the only way to move on is to speak up. And when you do, say it softly, but say it anyway. Because the world listens.